Hey, what's going on? It's Quinn David Furness. Welcome to my show. Quinn David Furness presents the Beantown podcast for Sunday, May 10th, 2020. It's Mother's Day, the mother of all male days. This is your host, Quinn David Furness, and we're coming to you live from the north side of Chicago, Rogers Park, to be exact. How's everyone doing today? It's weird. I tell you what, man. Last week in Chicago, last weekend, and for anyone who's ever heard of Chicago, they'll know this to be true. But last weekend, on the Saturday, it was about 75 and sunny. The Sunday was a little bit cooler, down to about 65. I just finished a 9-mile walk in the snow here in Chicago. I went down to HB 94's apartment down in Lakeview. She's been on the podcast before, October of 2018. And I went down there and fixed a light for her and came back up. But man, I tell you what, that wind was fierce coming off the lake. And 9 miles today on a walk. I ran a half marathon yesterday, which felt really good going up to the Baha'i Temple, and was really rough coming back. I tell you what, I never had to stop. I never had to walk, stop, pop, and roll. But it was, by the time I finished, I was just one of those things where, one, your legs really start to just run out of energy, but my body in general was just kind of starting to shut down. I wasn't dehydrated. It was sunny the whole time, in complete contrast to what the crap we've gotten today. But it was sunny and not that warm, but just the sun beating down on you for basically 2 hours is a lot. But what you got to do, you got to get out there and go get some exercise. Stretch your legs, especially on a Sunday afternoon. Let Stacy handle it, maybe.
Strolling on a Sunday afternoon.
That's right. We got a Stacy King soundboard going for our Mother's Day special, and that is what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be working with today. I tell you what, there are a lot of just fun ones here. I'm not trained enough in this soundboard type of machine to be able to have all the good ones lined up. But this one is fun.
Give it to me, big sexy.
Oh, here's another classic.
Does anybody know how to post videos to Facebook?
And then there are a lot of just kind of short, fun ones too. Like, we're just going to run the gamut here. Hope you're enjoying this. I'm getting to my tribute to my mom in a second, I promise.
Oh! Woo! Woo! Bam! Bam, 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 bam! Wow! Splash! Roll it. Let's freeze it right about now. Go ahead and roll it.
Okay, I'm done for the moment, I promise, until I find one that I really like. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, one more.
He was late getting over, but he was early for a poster.
Okay, the only reason I think about this / bring it up was I created a funny picture. So one of my favorite things about my mom getting her doctorate, which she finished last month, I think, but was supposed to walk. We were supposed to do a podcast live from Texas this weekend, which is going to be really exciting. But obviously, quarantine week 8, I think we're on week 8, maybe, has completely stopped those plans in their tracks. Mom was supposed to be earning her EDD, her Doctor of Education, this weekend, and she still is a doctor, and that's the best part, because she's now Dr. J. And anyone who's a fan of the NBA or just black athletes in general knows that Dr. J is an iconic basketball player, point guard, I think, shooting guard, I'm not sure, for like the Sixers and the Nets too, maybe. I don't remember. But I found this fun picture on Facebook of Dr. J basically dunking on the haters. And so I took Mom's headshot, threw it over Dr. J. Wasn't able to get the afro part quite right, but I think the message still got across because we racked up the likes for Dr. J on Facebook. And that's why I think of it. Something like this.
I want to go higher.
And this.
Too big, too strong, too fast, too good.
And finally this.
Either get up or get out the way.
Oh, and finally this.
What's my poster machine?
So I wanted to do a little Mother's Day tribute to my mom on this episode. And before we get into that, I'll mention listener discretion is advised. When you're listening to the Beantown podcast, number one, we'll occasionally use some language, although no one uses more language than my mom does. Number two, this podcast is objectively terrible. But I thank you for tuning in anyways, to all of the tireless supporters. We are just kind of give you a little snippet of time here. Historically, we're like 122 maybe, episode 122, something like that. Plus, what do we have? Like eight Beantown Unplugged specials at this point, I think 7 or 8. So we're at about 130 total episodes plus YouTube content, which is very exciting. We are on year 3 here and almost halfway through. And it's our third ever Mother's Day show, and I'm excited. I was thinking, so when I woke up this morning, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do my podcast on. But I decided, you know what? Let's do a little Mother's Day action for Jane. Dr. J, I should say, for Dr. J. And so I was on my 9-mile walk this afternoon. I was thinking of, different things that I really like about my mom and mostly funny things, but I did my best to kind of tie both humor and realism into it. And that's, kind of what I try to do with this show in general. But I was writing a couple of things down, and granted, it was actually really hard to type them into my phone because it was snowing outside, and my hands were really cold. But I threw a few things into there, some things that were just off the top of my head. And so without further ado, I'm not going to make you beg for it. Beg for it, that's the name of the... Anybody who's a Christopher Guest fan will know. In Best in Show, after the dog show ends, Jerry and Cookie Fleck put out a tape, an album on tape of their dog songs, and then the name of the album is "Beg for It." I think Captain, the Cookie and Captain, something like that. Backyard, front yard, on the lawn, stay with it till it gets dark. However it goes. Doing it, terrier style, bow wow.
Yes, it's Swinging Jumpers in Chicago, baby.
Thank you for that, Stacy. I don't even remember how we got there. This, if you hadn't figured out yet, 2.5 years into the Beantown podcast, I do a lot of stream of consciousness, to put it lightly, on this show and in life in general. But I tell you what, it's just the way my mind works. I'll just be lying there at night, and it's kind of like, you get into like these Wikipedia wormholes or black holes where you just click, you're just hyperlinked into oblivion. That's just kind of how my mind works. I'll say something that connects to something else, and it just comes out. So I won't make you beg for it. Last week was a long episode. I got some chocolate here. That's some good stuff. Last week was our top 10 horse names episode, and I think it was really well done. Tight. It was a tight production. So thanks to all the folks back in the editing room for helping me with that. Again, if you missed it, go check out our top 10 horse names. It was number 1, Irregardless, this year. And it joins the ever-growing pantheon of annual top horse names of mine. We now have 3 because we've done 3 specials. We have Episcopalian, Pentateuch, and we have Irregardless. So let's jump in here to our tribute to Mom. All right, so as I mentioned before, there are a lot of things going on with this list, and I could make a list a mile long. That's how much I love my mom. Actually, 13.1 miles long for each mile of my half marathon yesterday. But I just picked a couple ones that, maybe you've forgotten about, or maybe you never even knew about, because 90% of the people, actually, that's generous. 60% of the people who listen to this podcast are not my mom, if you're doing the math at home. So maybe you're not even aware of some of these things. If you're doing the math.
Reservations for 3, Mr. Corver.
Reservations for 3, because 3 people are currently listening to this podcast, I would assume. Mom is such a good mom that she once dressed up as Paula Abdul to judge a homeschool talent show competition. And if you're wondering what a homeschool talent show competition was, I don't even remember the majority of the acts that went on. I think there was some flute playing. There was potentially some sort of swing dance of some kind. There were many other things that I physically don't even remember. And then the winning act, which I don't want to maybe get into the whole nepotism thing here because it benefited me, so I'm not going to talk about it. But the winning act was my brothers and I, Jack and Walt, friends of the podcast, and we did a choreographed lip sync and dance to "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees, which we practiced in our basement for like 2 hours the night before to get it right. I think Walt was probably the criminal mastermind behind some of that choreography, but there's a video that exists on Facebook. I should try to figure out just how challenging it would be to rip a video from Facebook, download it, and then upload it to YouTube. I imagine it's possible. And if nothing else, you can go the super janky early 2000s version and videotape your screen and then upload that to YouTube. It's got potential. But Jane dressed up as Paula Abdul and she killed it. If you want to see the footage, the video footage, you can go check it out and find. It might even be like one of my featured Facebook photos, but it's out there. It's not hard to find. So Jane's a badass mom, but that's just one reason why. She is the genius behind some killer songs that you may or may not know because they have varying. They've performed up to varying degrees of success on the Billboard Hot 100s charts. But some of my favorites include Stima Kleckler Christmas. If you don't know what this is, it's going to sound really stupid when you talk about it, but that's just mom being mom. Mom took the tune, Have a Holly Jolly Christmas, as featured in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, closing credits maybe. And for some reason, I don't know why, this is just Dr. J being Dr. J, decided to take out the majority of the words to Holly Jolly Christmas and instead insert the surnames of various families who belong to the swim team club that we were part of, the Rockford Marlins. So Stima is a family. Kleckler is a family. Steele was the last name of a family. Seifert may have been part of the lyrics. I don't recall. Hartenberger was probably in there. In fact, this is the second time in, 3 weeks that the last name Hartenberger's come up on our podcast because we did a detasseling podcast with Tim Muther. I don't really have an explanation for how this ever came about, but Dr. J might. You'll have to get in touch with her. She's also, and I'm going to sing this one for you because I think you'll enjoy it, also behind the top hit, Big Bucket of Squat. And it goes something like this. Big bucket of squat, big bucket of squat. You're a big bucket and you're full of squat. Big bucket of squat, squat, squat. How does she come up with this stuff? I don't know. I'm crying tears of laughter over here. I don't get it. If you ever, you think of the great parody artists of our time, you think of Weird Al, and that's really the only one I can think of. But make room for Dr. J because, man, some of the stuff she comes up with in the musical department is just insane. Speaking of musics, everyone's favorite word. Speaking of music, Jane is a prolific musician. You might know her for her rich soprano voice or for her piano playing abilities, because come Christmas time when she whips out those duet books, it's going down. But Dr. J played sax in high school, and I tell you what, sometimes I'll be walking down the street listening to my MP3 player, and you get something like Call Me the Breeze by Leonard Skinner comes on, or New York State of Mind by Billy Joel, and I go into like this trance, like daydream mode where I'm hammering away on the keys and Pop's playing the drums, and at some point Sister learned how to play the acoustic bass because I just really like the visual. But then you got Dr. J just killing it on the saxophone solos. She's wearing like a cool fedora and some hip sunglasses. Mom, that's like how I picture you in my head. So you're welcome. She also kills it at the banjo. Oh, man. I tell you what, we've been to a couple Duttons concerts. If you don't know the Duttons, go find them on YouTube. They had a run on America's Got Talent, but they're Branson born and raised, I think, or Mormon. I don't know. Both, perhaps. But I always hoped that one of these days when we were at a Duttons concert, they'd pull Mom up on the stage and she could do some sort of like dueling banjos thing, maybe with the grandparents. That could be fun. That could be very fun. Hasn't happened yet. We got to go back to Branson. We haven't been in 10 years. I think 2020 would be good. Mom, start practicing your banjo now because she's got the skills. We have a banjo. Or my parents have a banjo at their house. They just got to tune it on up. Let's see. A couple other things here, and then we'll read our ads, and then I got one other thing that I'm going to mention here before we close. I'll keep it pretty short, I promise. Mom is a pretty versatile cook. And when I say pretty, I mean extremely versatile cook. She's got Indian food going. I mean, how many other moms can make water chicken like Dr. J can? If you don't know water chicken, it's an ancient Hindi recipe from the foothills of the Himalayas, and it'll knock your socks off. But it's not just India. It's Mom's got Southern cooking under her belt. She makes a killer gumbo, best gumbo I ever had. She's good at other things too, like some Orange Julius on your birthday. Oh, man, that stuff is good. Dr. J can cook anything. I tell you what, there should be some sort of cooking competition show for moms who aren't professionally trained, because my mom would go in there and wipe the floor with the other moms. Even if it was like Gordon Ramsay's mom or Paula Deen or Rachel Ray, my mom would kick ass and not be racist, which is just, for the sake of this competition, less important, but still a nice bonus to have, I have found personally. Maybe the funniest thing I'll say about my mom is I don't know how this popped into my head, but it's absolutely 100% true. My mom took me to see both Attack of the Clones and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer in movie theaters. Paid tickets, paid customers to go see those two films. And if you've seen either one of those, you know they are both hot, steaming piles of trash. I mean, those movies are just god-awful. And they are the types of films where when you see them when you're, I was, 7 when Attack of the Clones came out, and probably like 13 when Silver Surfer came out. We'll get a fact check going on that, though. When you see them as a kid, you're kind of like, okay, it's interesting. I'm down for it. You know, it's got good action. I was 12 when Silver Surfer came out. It's got some good action. But when you watch them with a more developed sense of film criticism, or just being older than like 14, you quickly realize those, not only are those movies bad, they're really like hard to watch. Boy, those movies are tough. But my mom took me to the movie theater and we watched them anyways because I wanted to go see them. And that's the deepest kind of unconditional love I know of. Taking your kid to see Attack of the Clones, that's tough to top. The last thing here, some of my favorite things about my mom in our Mother's Day tribute to moms, and there are so many things that I could pick from here, but my mom's well-documented now educational journey, which is just pretty damn impressive. So I'll try to do it pretty quickly because it's extensive, but if you're ready, we'll go for it right now.
Give it to me, big sexy. Give it to me, big sexy.
So my mom got her associate's degree from Rock Valley College in 1980, and then had 4 kids, and education kind of got put on hold for a while. Then, and she knows the exact years, and I apologize, Mom, because I don't know the exact years, but sometime when I was probably in high school, she decided to go back to college and get her bachelor's degree from Northern Illinois University. Go Huskies. But she didn't stop there. Jane continued on and got her master's degree in English something. I don't know. Writing? Maybe. Mom will have to chime in. Maybe we should have got her on the show for our Mother's Day episode. Lessons for next year. But she didn't stop there. And if you listen to the first 5 minutes of the show, you know where we're going here in the 24th minute. Dr. Jane continued, and got her EDD, which is like a PhD but cooler, from Sam Houston State in Texas without ever even going to Texas. I think. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe she went once. That's pretty impressive. Because when I got my master's degree, I had to be on campus. But Dr. J posterizes the competition.
Either get up or get out the way. That's your point guard, Neil Funk, going upstairs to get that ball. Woo! The man, the myth, the legend, the white mamba.
That's my mom. The man, the myth, the legend, the white mamba. That's actually a great name. White Mamba, M-O-M-B-A. Dude, if she didn't already have Dr. J locked down, White Mamba was going to be a killer second choice. You know, we had our top 10 horse name show. Maybe we should have our top 10 mom name show. And instead of like Kathy and Melissa and Jane, we could have things like Dr. J and the White Mamba.
Give it to me, big sexy.
All right. That was my tribute to my mom, Dr. J, on this Mother's Day 2020. a double whammy. It's not only Mother's Day, it's also earning your doctorate day, which is pretty exciting, at least the graduation ceremony. I will mention, when life gives you lemons, God laughs at your plans, or however that phrase goes. I get my mom flowers every Mother's Day, and that's a tradition. That was an accident. Tradition going back at least 4 or 5 years at this point. And usually it goes off without a hitch, but this time around it went off with a hitch. The flowers have yet to be delivered. I don't know. They were scheduled to be delivered yesterday, and nothing. So no email updates, no nothing, just TBD. So Mom, if you're listening to this, you haven't gotten your flowers yet, just imagine you got some nice flowers, okay? Okay. Let's read some ads here, and then I got one other thing, kind of a somber note that I'll mention, and then we'll wrap it up there in the 30-minute range. So, Home Pride Oregon, are you tired of selling your house for less than a quarter of what it's worth, all because you couldn't find a reliable home inspector in time? That was a question, but I kind of ended it with a downward inflection. Well, Oregon listeners, there's good news. Home Pride Inspection Services in Bend, Oregon is Central Oregon's hottest new home inspection provider, with inspection services including things like heating and cooling, you better be writing this down, roofing, plumbing, and so much more. Home Pride Oregon is both contractor certified and home inspection certified, so you know you're getting the good stuff. If you're tired of big real estate stranglehold on the home inspection market, and you want a safe, certified home inspector that you can trust, you got to call Steve at 541-410-0316, or you can visit homeprideoregon.com. Again, that's 541-410-0316, or you can visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride Oregon, inspection perfection.
This is a man's game. No boys allowed. The hype is real. The hype is real. The hype is real. The hype is real.
All right. Shout out to the Samson Q2U series for putting up with all my shenanigans week in and week out. And you know what? I think we'll, this might be the start of something new here with the soundboard action. Maybe there's I've never really played around with soundboards. Maybe there's a way to kind of make your own soundboard. I have no idea how that stuff would work from different clips across the internet. I think we could have some fun with that, because Stacey King is good, but I'm not sure how much of his stuff actually applies to the Beantown podcast, although there are just some fun ones like this one that you can just use anytime.
Free cheese. Free cheese. Free cheese.
So shout out to the Samson Q2U series because it's picking up all the good stuff. Jane just texted me live on the podcast. Flowers didn't come today. You may need to check on them and ask for a refund. Classic. Killing it. Nothing says Happy Mother's Day like a refund. Although if it was the refund check from the government, that'd be cool. There have been murmurs, M-U-R-M-U-R-S, which is also the name of that famous Fleetwood Mac album. Murmurs of more government check money, maybe, from Democratic leadership in the House. I tell you what, here's kind of how I feel about this situation. I don't need more government bailout money at this point, but if it's going to help other people, which it certainly would, and we're all getting it, I'm not going to say no, because I can use that money for I don't know, putting a down payment on a down blanket or something. I don't know. Maybe I could buy some.
Free cheese.
It's too good. I'm getting really good with this. I've only been doing it for half an hour. Man, there are so many good ones on here. Oh, the Golden Pipes.
I want to go higher.
Okay, I'm done, I promise. Maybe not for the whole episode, but for now. But I don't know what I was talking about. Whatever. Government money. But how did I get there? I don't know. Let's get back on track here. When God speaks, he uses a Samson. Last thing here, cuts by Q. And I was going to mention the TV guide, but It's worth noting that they still haven't sent me my, what did we get, 4 copies? 3 or 4? They still haven't sent me my next one. And I don't know what's on television tonight. And I don't know if and when The Conners is returning Tuesday nights on NBC. ABC, right? Yeah, ABC. I just wanted that TV guide with John Goodman on the cover, just smirking, looking like a dad. But alas, it's not to be. And I legit, like, I know I've talked about this infinite amount of times on the podcast in the past, but I don't know what happened. Like, I ordered a year's subscription of the TV guide, and the first, 4 came. And I've gone back into my emails to, like, find my confirmation, see if there's somebody I can contact. There's no, like, contact information. The email is really bare bones. It's like, thank you for your order. Don't respond to this email. There's no, like, website link. Nothing. So I know it's been, a year plus at this point, but nothing. So that's depressing. Last ad here, Cuts by Q. Bob and Weave. You know who needs a bailout check is Cuts by Q, because we haven't had a customer in months or years at that in that line. Oh, I'm struggling to talk today. I apologize. We're almost done, I promise. Bob and Weave. We all know the hairstyle. We all love it. But how many Chicago-based independent barbers can actually give it to you the way you deserve? Enter Cuts by Q. It's like Enter Sandman, but different. Cuts by Q has been independently owned and operated since 1995 and is probably one of the better barbershop operations serving Chicago, Cook County, the greater Chicagoland area, including Northwest Indiana. If you're... Nope. Wrong read. From beehives to bangs, faux hawks to flat tops, and everything in between, you got to call Cuts by Q at 815-298-7200, or you can email cutsbyq@yahoo.com. Again, that's cuts, Q-U-T-Z, by Q at yahoo.com. Oh, sing with us when you need a fresh do, something snappy and new. Just call the experts at Cuts by Q.
He likes the barbecue, and McGee, I need your grill.
All right. Last note here, and I'll keep it short because I've kind of like done what I wanted to do regarding grief with this situation / come to terms, not come to terms, but just like I've expressed the I think appropriate amount of sadness and emotion that I want to regarding this situation. But if you follow me on social media, you already know this. But on Friday, Wrigley, the dog, moved on to the next life. See you in another life, brother, just like what's his name says on Lost. And I was going to say Daryl, but that's definitely not right. I don't know. Not Penny's boat, whoever the husband is or the boyfriend, the guy who's in the hatch. Not Charles Widmore. But Wrigley was a wild dog, man. We don't know her exact age. Probably, I think, generally agreed to be about 14 or 15 right now. She's been doing it. She's been doing it for a while. She was originally named Lucky, the dog, by my grandfather, who had taken her in as, I think someone had given Lucky to him that they had found as a stray. I'm fuzzy on the origin story of Wrigley. Maybe we need to make a Marvel origin story. But the dog was then, so Grandpa already had a dog, Jack. About that ship, Jack. We named the monkey Jack. That was like an Indiana Jones Pirates of the Caribbean crossover. Wow, things are getting funky here on Mother's Day. Grandpa then gifted the dog to us, and I don't think anyone knew she was going to live that long, but she did. She was a very interesting dog, extremely neurotic, like Tommy Palmese, if you know the Fred Armisen SNL sketch, one-man play. It's a pretty fun one. You can go find it online. Very neurotic, a big barker, barked at everything, especially when she still was able to hear. And not great at showing affection. The biggest thing was if you get too close, a lot of dogs, to show affection, will kind of lick your face, and it's kind of gross, but it's also kind of cute. Wrigley didn't lick your face. She like snapped at your face like a snapping turtle, and not a full bite, like not really a painful bite as much as just like kind of a bite. And the worst part about this, not only does it, it's not fun to get, kind of like pseudo bitten by your dog on the nose, but Wrigley had the worst breath I think I've ever smelled from an animal. And I've woken up next to my sister before, so that should tell you something. I'm sorry, sister. I couldn't help it. Sister is known for her bad breath. Woo! That morning breath. Yikes. Wrigley's was worse than that. If that gives you any indication of how I felt about it. It was so bad. I don't know how it was possible. How such foul odors could be emitted from one tiny little dog. It was incredible. Wrigley was a good adventure partner. We would go on long walks together, especially the forest preserve. There's one classic instance where we went to the forest preserve, just her and I, around dusk, and we spotted a doe, a deer, a female deer. And me being a foolish, I don't know, probably like 17-year-old, decided to let her off the leash. Because, Wrigley, will hunt chipmunks and stuff in the backyard. So I said, let's go big game hunting, dog. And so I let her off the leash. And, boy, it was scary. I couldn't find her for about half an hour. She had completely just bolted, taken off after the deer into the brush. And, she's a pretty little dog. And Wrigley is also the type of dog that, like, could have been or was very, like, aloof, absent-minded at times, wasn't always that interested in, coming back to you or staying by your side. And so she was just very content to be by herself, wandering the forest after she inevitably lost track of the deer. And it took me a long time, and it was getting dark to find her. It was very scary, but eventually I did. She didn't seem to care that she'd been gone for half an hour, and that was the last time I ever let her hunt a deer. But Riggs was a good dog. She really liked the beach. She would get beach zoomies and just run, sprint, and like she'd do this in the backyard too, but in very fast concentric circles. She loved to do that. I don't really know why, but she wasn't a traditional dog. She didn't play fetch. And she wasn't great at affection, but she was our dog. And she was a real dumbass, but a good dog nonetheless. So that was Wrigley the dog. Hell of a run. She was very well known in my friend circles. And thanks in part to my sister and my parents who were always taking fun pictures of her that I could share on social media and with friends, etc. So, good run for Riggs, and we'll see you in the next life. So that's what we had for this week, our Mother's Day edition of the Beantown podcast. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us, beantownpodcast@yahoo.com, or you can tweet at us. We're at BeantownCast. My personal Twitter is @WhiteBuns. You can message us on Facebook. Send a Candygram, a land shark, however you want to get in touch with us, you know how to do it. So that's what we had for you. I'm going to cue up the Tishmingo Blues. No piano today over here on my end, but there will be some in coming weeks, I promise. Or if that's a bummer for you to hear, then there's always the fast forward button. Okay, thanks everyone for listening. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, probably the best mom I ever had. Dr. J, posterizing on the competition since 19. She would not want me to share her age on the podcast. Okay, that's what we got for you. Let's get that music going to play us out, and I will check in on you next week.